The Cook. A historical fiction of love, identity and fate by S.J. Chapter 7. Trial by Fire. Kate tightened the apron around her waist, smoothing the creases of her black stewardess uniform as she stood just outside the entrance to the first-class dining salon. The fabric was stiffer than she was used to, unforgiving, unfamiliar, pressed to perfection. Every seam seemed to shout, "You don't belong here." Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the muffled sound of an orchestra playing softly in the background. This was it. Her first night in first class, not as a guest, not as a companion, but as a servant. A girl in borrowed shoes standing at the edge of a world she could never claim as her own. The air was perfumed with polish and anticipation, candle smoke and citrus oil. She could hear the faint clatter of silver warming trays being stacked behind her, the quick footfalls of other stewards passing through the corridor, with the silent choreography of those who had done this 100 times before. She stole a glance at the male stewards, who stood in perfect formation, adjusting their formal white gloves and black tailcoats, preparing for the ritual of wealth and indulgence that was about to unfold. Their faces were impassive, as if carved from polished stone, no flicker of nerves, no evidence of doubt. She envied them that. A voice low and firm cut through the quiet. "Eyes down, hands steady. Don't speak unless spoken to," one of the senior stewards muttered under his breath. "And for God's sake, don't spill anything." Kate swallowed, gripping the heavy silver tray in her hands, stacked with gleaming plates and delicate crystal glassware. She had grown up with blistered palms and flour in her lashes, but this was a different kind of heat. No comforting scent of bread, no father's quiet encouragement, just glittering silver and the weight of a single misstep. She wasn't supposed to be here, not really. The first-class dining salon was traditionally staffed by men. Men groomed in service, trained in the silent language of deference and discretion. But Mr. Ashford had made special arrangements. Pulling threads behind the curtain, he had appealed directly to the gentleman in charge of first-class service, Mr. Basil Tennant, for an exception, citing the importance of maintaining propriety for Miss Weatherby's household during the voyage. A lady of Lydia's standing was not to be left unattended, not even at sea. And since her lady's maid could not be seated among the guests, she would need to serve, as discreetly and as invisibly as possible. It hadn't hurt that Mr. Ashford had, some years earlier, secured a nearly impossible placement for Mr. Tennant's daughter at Boundary Oak School for Girls, a favour never forgotten, despite the girl's underwhelming academic record. One good turn greased the hinges of another. And so, for the sake of a noble family's image and a father's quiet debt, a rare allowance was made. A single female stewardess in first class. Just this once. Just for this girl. Just for this voyage. The doors to the first-class dining salon swung open, and just like that, the performance began. Kate stepped across the threshold, and for a heartbeat, she forgot to breathe. Stepping inside, Kate felt as though she had been dropped into another world. The salon was dazzling, a cavernous space of high, white-panelled walls, golden chandeliers, and silk-draped windows. The salon was dotted with round tables, each one a miniature kingdom of silver and porcelain, candlelight casting soft halos on pressed linen and polished wood, stretching from one end of the room to the other. The ceiling arched above like the nave of a cathedral, painted in soft creams and pale blues that caught the chandelier light and scattered it like sunlight on water. Gilded sconces flickered along the walls, casting warm pools of light that danced across pearl-inlaid mouldings and fluted columns trimmed in gold leaf. The orchestra played softly from a raised platform, filling the air with a gentle waltz, delicate strings and the distant sigh of a clarinet. The music curled around the room like perfume, wrapping itself around every gesture, every glance, every movement. Guests drifted in like swans onto a mirrored lake, dressed in silk and lace and jet-beaded gowns that shimmered with every turn. The men wore polished shoes and midnight black dinner jackets, their cuffs crisp, their laughter light. The women floated past on clouds of chiffon and ostrich feathers, their voices lilting, their diamonds catching the candlelight like tiny, merciless stars. Kate kept her gaze on the tray, as if the porcelain and glass were anchors in a sea of wealth she was only beginning to learn how to navigate. A woman's perfume brushed past her, jasmine and powder. Somewhere nearby, a man's deep voice erupted in laughter, sharp and sudden. The clink of silver cutlery, the soft rustle of silk, the low murmur of French and English and German, all of it swirled around her like a current, dragging her deeper into this shimmering foreign world. She stepped carefully, matching the rhythm of her breath to the sway of the ship and the tempo of the music, trying not to let her shoes squeak or her hands tremble. To her left, a steward glided by with a tray of oysters on crushed ice. To her right, another set a bread plate down with the precision of a jeweler laying a gemstone. No one spoke to her. No one even looked. That too was part of the performance. She adjusted her grip on the tray. Her hands were steady, but her breathing was shallow. Every instinct told her to be invisible, to disappear into the background, to not draw attention. And yet, there was something electric in it. The grandeur, the pressure, the pageantry, the sheer performance of it all. She caught her reflection in the polished silver of a serving dome. A slim girl in a black uniform, her braid tucked neatly beneath her cap, her eyes wide and dark and searching. She did not look like a baker's daughter. She did not look like the girl who used to sneak honey rolls from the counter after hours, or carry sacks of flour on her shoulder like a prize. No, she looked like something else entirely. This wasn't Cook's Bakery. This wasn't Titchfield. This wasn't the quiet, flour-dusted safety of home. It was a stage, and she had just stepped into the lights. Chapter 8. A Glimpse of the Divide.
She dined beneath chandeliers, I served beneath them. She wore silk, I wore shadows. We met eyes across a room built to separate us. And for a moment, she saw me. But I'm not here to be seen. I'm here to survive.
Next time, in The Cook.